Hi everyone, Brady Joker here. Today I'm going to be doing another Director's Ranked video. Of course, reading the title, you would know that I'm doing Ari Aster. You might be like, Brady, he only has 3 movies. Why are you doing this? I'd be like, he has 3 movies plus a short movie, which I've seen. So I'm gonna rank all 4 of these 3 feature-length movies plus a 30-minute short that he made back in like 2011, I think it was. So yeah, not much else to say other than I love Ari Aster and everything he's made has been at least good. Okay, so let's get rolling in with the list. Alrighty, and unsurprising to anybody, at number 4, his worst movie is The Strange Thing About the Johnsons, which is a 30-minute short film released back in 2011 and is, well, it's something, that's what I'll say. Now, I don't actually think that this is bad by any means. In fact, I think it's the opposite. I think this is actually a really well-made short. I mean, you got decent character work here. It's like well written. It's shot nicely. Like it's a solid short here. And then the content and the story itself. Yep. It's about a son banging down his dad. I mean, I didn't write the script, all right? I didn't make it. You've probably seen the iconic scene where the son breaks down the door of the bathroom and the dad's like, because, you know, I'll roll it right here. And it's just, it's a really iconic meme that has been made now. So it was nice to watch this thing. I watched this thing like back in like when like Midsummer. I watched this thing like really early on, like after I saw both Hereditary and Midsummer, but I saw this thing quite a while. I do like a lot of the dynamics between the characters. I mean, not that type of dynamic, but like I like the mystery and the unknown of how this whole relationship kind of started. Like, you don't know if Sydney was the predator who turned into the prey later on. Speaking of Sydney, the dad, wow, the performances in this short are very solid. I have them pulled up here. We got Billy Mayo as Sydney. He does an excellent job. Brandon Greenhouse as Isaiah, the son. This is literally the only thing he's ever been in his entire life. So, I mean, I don't know if I'd want to pursue acting after taking on a role like this, but he does a good job. And a very slept on, underlooked performance in here on this very underlooked movie in and of itself is Angela Bullock, who is the mother/wife in this instance. And her performance is really interesting to see because you get glimpses, because she knows what's going on throughout the movie. She knows that, you know, Isaiah is doing these things to Sydney, but you see it from an outside perspective and how she reacts to it all, and it's really good. Obviously, the subject material keeps this thing back from being a capital G great, but I honestly think this is a decent watch. It's on YouTube, 30 minutes. Give this thing a watch, although, again, be warned, it's very unsettling at times. So, I mean, yeah, that's all I have to say about this short. Alright, so coming in at number 3, this is Beau is Afraid, which is his brand new movie. And I was thinking about waiting to record this video until after I rewatched Beau, which I'm going to do later this week. But yeah, I decided to just not do that because I want to get this video out. I'm loving recording and editing right now, so I'm going to use that while I can. Obviously, I went into much more detail in this movie in my review that I posted last night, so if you haven't seen that and you want more of my in-depth thoughts on it, I have a 12-minute video talking about it all, but I'll try to sum up my thoughts here. Despite this being one of the weirdest movies in terms of its content and subject matter, I think it's Ari Aster's grandest film. I think he reached his peak as a director with this one. You can really feel the natural progression he moved from Midsummer to Beau is Afraid. All the acting performances in this thing are great, despite being 3 hours and also having the least fleshed out character as your protagonist here. I think that what Ari is able to do here is fantastic, leaving the viewer unsettled, emotionally distressed, anxiety-ridden throughout the entire runtime of this 3-hour epic is absolutely incredible, the way that he's able to pull it off so seamlessly. The cinematography, another thing I talked pretty much about quite a bit in my review, is some of my favorite. In fact, it might be my favorite looking Ari Aster film, probably by far. Even though Midsommar does have great production value, and honestly this one is no different. The production, or the set design throughout this movie is immaculate. It's great stuff. That's something I forgot to mention in my review. I can't believe I forgot about that. The set design and the sets throughout this movie are incredible. Joaquin Phoenix gives probably my favorite performance of the year that I've seen so far. And yeah, I don't have much else to say that hasn't been already said in my review, so just check that out. Alrighty, and number 2, we have Midsommar, which was Ari Aster's 2019 film. And what a film it is. This is a movie that exists, and it's excellent. This is probably the most bright horror movie I've ever seen, and yeah, I do call this a horror movie. It is disturbing, it's haunting, it's chilling at many points throughout this film, so I consider it a horror movie. The main protagonist here, Danny, played expertly by Florence Pugh here, definitely giving my favorite performance I've seen of her, is just absolutely devastating as this grieving person who is dealing with the loss of her entire family, as well as dealing with the slow spiral of her relationship as she's dating this really, really mean dude. And yeah, it's incredible work that she does in this film. Speaking of the relationship, Christian played actually one of the most underlooked performances, if not probably the most underlooked performance in all of Ari Aster's whole discography, or filmography, sorry, discography. Jack Reynor gives an absolutely crazy performance of being this dickwad who is really mean to Danny. He's not a very supportive and loving boyfriend, and then you end up feeling bad for the guy towards the end of the movie, which is insane. Not only that, but all of the side characters here are also really fun and entertaining to watch as they start to unravel the secrets of this place in Sweden. Which, speaking of this place in Sweden, God, is it beautiful. The structures, the set design, like I mentioned, that's something that Ari Aster, I'm starting to notice keen on in his filmography, is his set design and production value is just through the roof. It's top-notch stuff. I think I don't know much of the behind the scenes of Beau's Afraid, at least not at this point in time because it just came out, but with Hereditary and Midsommar, he built every single structure from scratch. I think the house was built from scratch in Hereditary, and everything built in this movie is literally built from scratch by Ari, which is insane. This movie is just very unsettling. I don't want to get into spoilers in my ranking videos, but there's just so many moments in this movie where, yeah, dare I say, you wince. You're like, oh my God, what in the world? And the ending is very effectively unsettling and disturbing. I mean, probably not as unsettling as Hereditary, and we'll get to that soon, but I think this movie is fantastic in the disturbing. In fact, I think this is probably Ari Aster's most disturbing movie. This is the movie that when I watched it left me feeling unease the most when I finished. I would say this is one of my top horror movies of all time. It's a borderline 5-star. I wouldn't give it that. I wouldn't give it fully that. I do have a couple flaws with it. I think the runtime, it's like 2.5 hours. I think it could have been shortened down just a little bit at times. And some of the unsettling moments are just, they're very weird. It's very much like Beau's Afraid in that aspect, where this was the start of Aster kind of using very bizarre and weird things and making them pretty unsettling, which I think is kind of off-putting at times, but it makes for a very interesting watch. I think everything here is very solid stuff. I love this movie so much. Go watch it. Alrighty, at number 1, who could have seen this coming? Number 1 is Hereditary. It's my second favorite horror movie of all time. It is in my top 25 movies of all time. Need I say more? I mean, I love this thing from top to bottom. Ever since my first viewing of this thing, which is still probably one of the scariest first viewings I've ever had in a movie. It's just, this is one of the scariest movies that have been released in the last decade, or maybe even ever. There's just so many shots that just stick with you, and they're so well done, where like there's stuff in the shot that is super unsettling, and you don't even realize it at first. Like because there's always, like, take The Strangers for an example. You know, that very iconic shot of, the, I don't remember her name, but the main girl, she's like walking around in her kitchen, and then you see in the background one of the masked killers come in and just stand there. I mean, that's what this movie does, but it does it better, because you don't even realize it for quite a long time. And then when you finally realize that something is there, you freak out. The performances in this thing are the best performances in any Ari Aster movie, in my opinion. Toni Collette, why was she not nominated for this role? I mean, the dinner scene alone should have gotten her nominated, and then everything else maybe should have let her win. I mean, I don't remember exactly who won that year. Didn't Rami Malek win for Bohemian Rhapsody for best male actress, or male actor? I can't remember if that was that year, but yeah, Toni Collette at least, very least, should have been nominated. And honestly, Alex Wolff as Peter is another one of the most underlooked performances, because I feel like people don't give him as much credit as they should, because it's absolutely devastating what this high schooler goes through in this movie. And Alex Wolff plays him with absolute perfection. He should have been nominated for a supporting actor. There's just so many moments in this movie that just like one of the most disturbing scenes I've seen happens like 30 minutes into the movie. And it's insane, because you wouldn't expect something that disturbing to happen so early on in the film, but it does, and it blows your mind when it happens. You probably know what scene I'm talking about if you've seen the movie. The ending is also insane. I know a lot of people hated the sudden jump that the movie took from being this kind of slow build up, because that's what I saw it as. I didn't see this as a slower psychological horror movie. I mean, I did, but I expected it to ramp up in the last 15 minutes, because it was all build up for the finale, which I found very, very satisfying, to get kind of what you've been building up towards all kind of happen at the end. And I know that turned off a lot of people. That's one of the biggest critiques I see when it comes to this movie, that the last 15 minutes, the sudden jump in scariness kind of turned them off, which it absolutely didn't for me. I love the last 15 minutes. The ending is one of my favorite endings in any horror movie ever. Very unsettling. The score is absolutely haunting, especially in those last even 5 minutes. It's disturbing stuff. I would say that Midsommar is more disturbing, but this movie is just scarier. The story itself is one of those stories that, while you can interpret things for yourself, the pieces are there to figure out a nice, coherent, and while very complex story. Once you learn it, it all makes sense, and you notice things in the beginning of the movie that foreshadow it, but you don't figure it out at the end. You gotta rewatch it to really find out what's really going on, and I think that's genius. I don't know. I don't think Aster will ever be able to top this masterpiece. It redefined horror. So many copycats of this movie came out, so many things trying to be what it was because of its success, because this movie is just, it's damn near perfection in my eyes. It's not perfection, but it's pretty close. It's one of the most perfect horror movies out there, which horror is a genre that I'm not even really keen on anymore. So I think this movie is incredible, and you should watch it. But again, fair warning, it's pretty unsettling. So yeah, that's where I'll leave it at. Alrighty, and that is my Ari Aster Ranked. If you've seen all of his movies, rank them down in the comments below and tell me who I should rank next. And I hope you all have an amazing rest of your day, evening, or night, or whenever you're watching this. So yeah, see you guys next time. Peace.